like the expectations are do it once, do it well. And if that's at the cost of doing other things, so be it.
I tell people you can't get buff reading a book on how to do push-ups.
One of the wonderful things of being a coach in marketing has been for me when the client will phone me, be like, Stu. I'm like, what? I said, what are they saying? They're like, I felt like I already knew you.
Hey everyone, welcome to the Summer of Atlassian. Today I have Stu from Revyz, and we're going to be talking shop. Stu's a long-time supporter of the channel. You may be noticing a steady stream of content coming out of Revyz. And so we wanted to do a little behind the scenes, a little BTS for you all, and get to know the story behind Revyz a little bit, get to know Stu's story a little bit, and just kind of see what Revyz is cooking over here. Thank you, Stu, for coming on.
Hey, thank you.
So you are someone that just entered the Atlassian ecosystem in full force. Tell me about this. Like, where did you find us? How did you find us?
It was really weird. So I'll tell you the backstory. I was not doing much in the tech industry, before coming into Revyz. So I've been in Revyz about 15 months now. December 2022, I got this kind of random email from a client of mine. I was doing a lot of marketing coaching back then, and I was loving it. So I was spending a lot of time on Zoom sessions with business owners and marketing people around the world, coaching them. And one of the guys I was coaching is a consultant for MailChimp. So he's one of the top MailChimp consultants in the world. And he had this kind of this email from someone who had watched a webinar around marketing strategy. And it ended up being the CEO of Revyz, Vish. And he referred him to me for this, like, can you go and do a go-to-market marketing strat gig? And so, touched base with this gentleman in San Fran, and heard about the business, and I was like, oh, okay, great, happy to help. And so I went off, and a couple of weeks later we'd completed the project, and then we ended the engagement, and I went off and did my things through Christmas. And then I was working for a rugby team in New Zealand, and probably the greatest club rugby squad in the world in terms of wins and things, the Canterbury Crusaders. I was helping them with a go-to-market digital product around coaching for kind of 3-4 months. And throughout that period, I was getting these emails from this guy called Vish going, hey, we'd love to have a little bit more of your time to execute. And so when the other project kind of wound up, I came on board part-time with Revyz to do some marketing, and landed in this kind of weird and wonderful Atlassian community. And I really liked what I saw. Like, I really liked the vibe. I really liked the sort of the kind of the casual, low-key side of it. Like, everyone wears t-shirts, and people can just be real. And I guess within a handful of months, I had kind of given up all of my other work that I was doing, and just spending all of my time with Revyz, and spending a lot of time kind of soaking up the Jira life, and soaking up what is this Atlassian community all about, and soaking up the variety of social media channels, to kind of get an understanding, how does this all work? And I still feel like I'm learning, right?
Yeah, shout out to the Jira life, right? It just starts becoming part of who you are as an identity.
Yeah. And it's, I will say that it's for me personally, it's been quite eerie. And because, number one, in 2004, 2005, I was running an ITSM business. So a small ITSM business here in New Zealand. So we were traversing all sorts of stuff around, my team were logging service tickets for our clients. We were managing assets. We were living the ITSM life without Jira. We were on a different platform altogether. So, there's a lot of learned experience over that time. The other thing we were navigating technically back then was migrating from the Microsoft on-premise world to the Microsoft cloud world. So we were migrating kind of on-premise Microsoft email servers and SQL servers into the cloud, into a service-based, SaaS-based world. And so, this was a long time ago, and it feels like, the last couple of years with Atlassian, with this whole shift to the cloud, has been kind of like deja vu every day for me.
Yeah, I mean, it is a very tech-heavy industry, and definitely big grassroots in the Atlassian ecosystem, being in a software shop and IT shop. So yeah, it's interesting to see how you made a transition from IT to marketing back to IT/marketing.
I know.
But
It was,
but you got yourself a new role now, no? You're continuing to evolve your involvement with the Atlassian ecosystem, and some would argue you're making a move towards a more influential position.
I don't know about that. I don't know about influence within the organization, but when they say, don't put your hand up in a meeting,
You did
I feel
that?
like I did that, because I remember we look, I mean, we had team recently in Vegas, and that was amazing. But the week prior to team, I got to meet my boss for the first time, because I'm based in Auckland in New Zealand, and we
And
went
for the record,
to
it's Auckland.
Auckland
I
in
love
New
telling everybody
Zealand.
that story. We'll get into it in a minute, but that was one of my favorite stories.
And I visited Oakland.
Auckland.
And
Did you really? Did you actually go to Oakland?
I went through it.
Okay, yeah, I wouldn't have stopped unless you want to, come out the other
No,
end
it's
in a
fleeting.
body.
It's
It's very
fleeting.
dangerous. It's a very dangerous place.
But we did a lot of planning the week before team, and so we knew that coming back from team, we would, in a bunch of ways, be shifting our focuses within our team at Revyz. And one of the shifts that we had decided was that I would be spending less time kind of orchestrating and executing on our marketing, because we've got a relatively good cadence going. With we could always be doing more, but we like what we're doing, and we're able to replicate that with our team members. So there's less. So my involvement in our marketing diminished by about, 60%, and I refocused that into partnership development, partnership support, working with solution partners around the world, working with marketplace partners around the world, spending a lot of time on meetings in the middle of the night, and I'm loving it though. I really am.
How is this different though? Like, because I'm assuming you're shifting that focus from marketing to consumers, even though consumers are technically enterprises, but now you're kind of marketing to other players in the Atlassian ecosystem?
Well, I think because Revyz is an enterprise product, right? And so we know, I think everyone knows, that enterprise customers in any marketplace, any technical marketplace, that they will rely on their own research, but they'll also rely upon partners that they work with and trusted advisors. And I think
That makes sense. It's
yeah.
kind of like having an in.
Oh, for sure, for sure. And this is not a unique thing. It's pretty, working through a channel is in enterprise is really pretty standard. And I used to be a channel partner. So, in a different industry, in a different sector of IT, I used to be kind of like a solution partner. So I kind of understand or empathize with solution partner world, and it's quite easy for me to have conversations with them around. I know that they get, like, I mean, how many marketplace apps are out there at the moment, right? There's hundreds, if not thousands, and
I think it's like 6,000 something, I think was the last number I
there you
heard.
go. So solution partners must be just getting their door knocked on every single day. Like, please try out our app, please sell our app, here's a commission. So I think having lived that type of experience where I was an IBM partner, I was a Microsoft partner, I was a VMware partner, and having all of these upstarts hammering my front door, I think now I'm on the other side of the fence representing
Yeah,
a
but it
product.
makes so much sense. Yeah, I guess
Yeah,
I've always purchased an app just because of a good use case.
Mhm.
But I guess I never really, maybe I got to rethink my relationships with my partners. Not once has
Well,
it ever crossed my mind. I'm like, oh, maybe I should go ask my solution partner, what do they recommend?
yeah, I just think quite often, you think of yourself as a CIO or CTO of a really large organization, say 5,000 Jira users, but you might have 20,000 end users within your organization, right? And you are having to, and no one's ever got much time, but the larger the organization, the more compliance they have to deal with, the more risk they have to, their decisions hold. So, a lot of smaller consultancies and a lot of smaller Jira sites, if they make a mistake and choose the wrong app, pull the app out, put another one in, right? But if you've deployed, say, backups, configuration management across 15 sites globally, and you've got them all automated, and then you have all of the history, right, sitting in that backup suite, and you realize it's not doing what we want to do, there's a lot of work having to undo that. So I think just
Right.
and that's where the kind of the enterprise buyer, I think, has to leverage off the solution partners. Solution partners are out there talking to. I think there's a huge amount of value in the solution partner network because they have this really broad exposure to, what are the use cases of the apps? What are the apps actually doing in the wild? What are their faults? Because no one's perfect. Revyz is not perfect, right? Our
Right,
competitors are
yeah.
not perfect,
No, and it
and
makes sense,
so
and it helps with like just the troubleshooting of it too, right? Some apps are not plug and play. Some of them require a little TLC to get them fine-tuned, or you run into a problem, or maybe you're just confused about something, and it's easy to have that network, or back channel to be able to help.
yeah, totally. And
That makes no sense.
I'll look back to kind of another point at the start of the, like, why so much focus on partners for us. One of the things that I realized about 6 months into working in the Atlassian community, and is that, Atlassian might be going towards a cloud first product, but I think this community versus so many other communities that I've been involved in, this is a people first community, right? Um, there are so many relationships, there are so many characters. The actual Atlassian community, the ACE, I think this is one of the things that Atlassian do are best in the world in, is actually nurturing and growing an actual community of humans. So for us as a marketplace player to not be involved in this
Where the
human
people are.
side of things, right, would be
You're
really
almost
dumb.
like, you guys are singing the Ariel song. I want to be where the people are.
I don't know about that. I don't know about that, but
That should be
I
the
just think,
Revyz theme song.
yeah, we've had, if we really look at our business and we look at where the business has come from, where the clients come from, typically they don't come from, in our space, they don't come from a trial. They come from a referral or a relationship, or we heard
Mhm.
about them, or an inquiry on an email. They come from, there's a conversation before the
Yeah,
technology
there's
stuff
a
happens,
huge people portion of it, yeah.
right?
And just even with us, right? Like, there's always the recommendation of when you're in these community events, you're coming with your pain points to hopefully get an answer that you just haven't been able to find online. And it makes sense, like somebody's gonna be, oh, like, oh yeah, we had that problem a year ago and we use this app, and right. And so just that word of mouth like instantaneously creates that almost trust with that app maker to like, oh, well, let's give that one a go, because
Yeah.
you already have that context that it worked for somebody else.
Yeah, I also think if you've got a lot riding on Jira or on Confluence or whatever you're using these Atlassian tools for, if you've got a lot riding on that, you want to know that there's good people behind the software that you're plugging in, right? You want to know that there's some sort of, that's not like mom's basement. Some teenagers have cut some
Yeah,
code
that the app
together,
doesn't go away
right?
too. That's something that in larger enterprises that I've been in, it's been one of our questions. Like, wait, how many installs does this thing have? Where's it based out of? Because if yeah, I mean, if somebody decides like, you know what, and we saw this. I don't know if you were probably too new to the Atlassian ecosystem, but about 2 years ago, there was an app that allowed you to clone your epics, and it allowed you to take an epic and then all the stories and tasks underneath that, and then any subtask underneath that, and just carbon copy. You would think that this is a default thing that Jira can do, but it can't. It can clone an issue, but you can't clone the entire nest of the tree. And so there's an amazing app. It was free, if not dirt cheap, and it worked. And the vendor one day just said, "We're done." They just completely killed it, right?
Wow.
And I made a video. I actually made a video saying like the death of such an amazing plugin that the community needed, and now we're all just being forced into deep clone, which was the only alternative at the time. And the vendor reached out to me. And they're like, "Wow, I had no idea that people even cared about this app."
I love it. I love
I'm
it.
like,
I mean,
"Yeah,
it's just so true, though, right? You know, and that's again and again when we're talking to prospective clients, they're asking us these questions. You know, how many staff have you got? How long have you been around? Like, what sort of fund?
what's your
We get,
plan
what
look
sort of
like?"
funding have you guys got? Like,
Yeah.
we get asked lots of things because people want to make a strategic decision, not a tactical decision.
Yeah,
Right.
especially one as expensive as like a backup solution, right?
Yeah, and I perhaps think there's that word around app, right? Which it's like, you got apps on your phone. You go to the marketplace, you install an app, you can uninstall an app, and it just has that vibe to it, right? But when you're in enterprise world, you got 500 Jira users who are doing ITSM, and therefore there's thousands of tickets flowing through your system all the time. Anything you plug into that ecosystem can become the thing that is your business's undoing.
Oh yeah, yeah.
Right?
Because I use an app right now, and it's one of these things where I'm like, man, I don't even use it anymore. But just trying to offboard it is like a thing in its own. It sounds like we just keep paying because I don't know how to offboard. Enterprise is definitely different than like smaller 200-300 person companies. Are like, I was just talking to somebody today. I'm like, you're not using these 3 apps, just knock them out. Right? There's $7,000 in savings right there. But in enterprise, it's like one person somewhere in the back room, way over there, uses it, and for that we keep it.
Yeah, totally.
So let's transition a little bit. Team 24. This was your first experience. We didn't get a whole lot of opportunities to be with you. I mean, I probably spent more time with you than anybody else, but there was a lot of events that we're doing together there. But why don't you walk me through before team? What was going through your head? And then I've never actually spoken to a marketplace vendor. What does it look like being on that side of the booth? Like, what's the level of stress, anxiety, excitement? Like, what's going on through there? And then post team, what are you guys doing after that? So let's talk before, during, and after. What does that look like from a marketplace vendor's perspective? And then also maybe add the fact that it was your first one as well.
Yeah. So I came into Revyz just before team last year, so team 2023. And so we had the co-founders going, so I didn't get to go because I was just a kind of newbie within the company and a contractor, and that already lined up everything. They went off and had a booth, and they came back with all these stories about how busy it was, how exciting and vibrant it is, how much goes on. And so I had the viewpoint of my colleagues to go on and kind of things that I'd heard through the community. We are careful with how we spend money with marketing. So, being a sponsor of a booth, there's a decent amount of capital that you're taking out of your marketing budget and committing to that. Then there's the cost of getting people there. And then there's what are we going to do there to stand out and make the most of the thing? So, man, we obsessed over it, right? We obsessed over design of our stand. We obsessed over what are we going to be doing, running some events, how we're going to make sure that people know about it, given all of the team noise. There was months worth of prep, and that built up this excitement in me. Like, I'm an excitable guy anyway, right? But I was like fizzing about going over there. I'd never been to Las Vegas before. I hadn't been to San Fran. I hadn't even met my boss face to face. So the week before, went to San Fran, stayed there, had kind of a couple of days off, and then met Vish, and then Sanket flew in, and he and I stayed in the same hotel complex, so we got to hang out quite a bit, which was just great, right? And went to the Atlassian HQ in San Fran, and and just did that kind of final sprint of planning for team. and then then we flew down there together and set up. And the experience of being at team was bigger than I had anticipated in so many ways. Like, number one, I didn't realize that Vegas was so overwhelming, right, as a place, right? There's just so many people, there's so many things. It is. You have to kind of be there to really understand it.
I gotta ask, how was the run? Did you do the running? Because I was knocking out 20,000 steps a day. There's no way in heck I would have been able to add a run to that.
Oh man, I guess the backstory to this is I had connected with a couple of people online too, and there was a run club set up already of people like me. I like to run. I like to run trail runs and running around. It's kind of like my yoga and meditation all tied into one. And so the run clubs were like 5:30 in the morning, I think, twice in the week, and I said, I'll do one as well, right? This was two months before team, thinking that sure, I'm an energetic guy, I'll have heaps of time and energy to do this, right? In reality, I showed up to the one that I didn't show up to the other one. I showed up to the one that I committed to organizing. No one else showed up, and I understand why, because most of as a sponsor, right, you're running the booth, you're following up people the morning before. We ran a handful of we rented some a hospitality meeting space as well. We ran 4 events out of that space that week. So we're doing event planning every day, the fun, like sending emails to people, confirming attendance, dealing with hospitality and catering and all sorts of stuff for your events that you're running throughout the week. Before you turn up to the stand at 9 a.m. and then put your game face on and say hello to everyone who turns up.
I think it was 8 a.m. No, those things were opening up early.
Oh, well, and that's for 3 days solid. And we're kind of tag teaming the 4 people that we had from our little company there. And then I'm running off taking videos and photos because we didn't want to walk away from team without a whole lot of content in which to put into our marketing following team. And then every night there's 2 to 5 parties that you're invited to, or dinners or whatever else. So
yeah, I mean, we got in from our
Monday 5
night
a.m. to like 1 a.m. every day.
Yeah, our Monday night was what we got out of there like at 12:30, 12:15, midnight.
Yeah, I think I had one early night, and that night that was like 11 p.m. And then most days I was up at 5. So to answer the question, yes, I went for one run. I dragged my butt out of bed, I think on the Wednesday at 5:30, and did like the slowest 5K jog I've ever done in my life. And then asking, questioning my life decisions, because it was a 1 a.m. finish the night before. Thankfully I don't drink a lot, so it wasn't like hangovers every day. So I just had a couple of beers.
Yeah, I think a lot of like if you go to teams as a end user, right, it's just somebody that uses the Atlassian tools in your company. It's such a different experience than if you're invested in the community of Atlassian.
Oh yeah.
Way different.
I mean, I remember going.
The party started Sunday. Some people were doing it since Saturday, right? I missed out on. I was gonna attend some stuff on Sunday, but my family surprised me. My family drove in right behind me, and so we got to just walk the strip and hang out with the family the Sunday. And then Monday was all community leaders. The Seabird had a whole info session before, and then the dinner, and then Tuesday was all community champions and leaders and a bunch of stuff. And so I was probably getting 4 hours of sleep tops every single night for like a week.
Oh, I remember seeing you. So we had the creator evening, right? The creator cocktails, and shout out to Peter for being co-host and co-sponsor there. And I remember sitting around, and it was really chill, and everyone was pretty tired, right? And we had the bash to go to.
Yeah, it was still a bash party to go to.
It was like a pre-party for the bash, having cocktails in this hotel, in this kind of large hotel suite. And then I remember people going, "Where's Alex? Where's Alex?" Right? And the rest of the Jira Life crew were there, and then you rocked in, and you looked so tired, man. And and I was just like, but I remember seeing you, just glimpses of you, like literally like running between stands, right, with all your camera gear and like the Alex entourage wrapped around you, and then and I think. I mean, props to you guys, right? Props to Jira Life, props to all of the people out there who are doing this creator stuff, because I think a lot of people don't understand. Not only is there a lot of like steps getting between places to do these things, but it takes a lot of kind of emotional energy to be in front of a camera and be in your game face again and again and again all day. And because there's pressure, it's like, don't cock it up, because the client, or the client or the person that it's on camera, and we don't get any retakes of this sort of stuff. So I can totally understand how draining that can be.
Oh yeah, no, the that day that you had your happy hour, my kids, since the moment we entered Las Vegas, I have a 7-year-old. There's this thing, I don't know if you've seen it or seen commercials for it, but there's this thing called the Mega Mart, and it's this stuff on social media. It's a unique experience in Las Vegas where it's a fake storefront, like a grocery store. And as you're grocery shopping, there's hidden entrances, like you can go through the freezer. And so you can walk through the freezer and you enter this world of like imagination. And
Oh,
there's like
wow.
all these hidden paths and rooms and sensory overload experiences that we were there for 2 hours and I was just done. Right. I was just running around up and down the stairs. There's like this section where you go in through a fireplace and you find this rope and you go up like 30 feet of just like crawling your way up. And so this is Thursday after the
Wow.
whole thing, after team's almost over. And then I get to the room and like we ate dinner. Well, the family ate dinner. And I'm like, I was dragging it. I was like, guys, are we all seriously? Do I have to walk to the Palazzo still? like, can I just go straight to the bash? And they're like, no, we're still here. I was like, but you sure I have to like figure out where that place is at? And so yeah, that's right. By the time I rolled up, man, I was ready to find a bed somewhere. And then the bash party still hadn't even started.
Yeah, I can relate. I think the night before that, I had just a full-on day, like really, really early start. I think we'd been to a dinner, and then there was a party to go to. So it might have been the Adaptivist party, pool
Yeah,
party, or
that
something
was
like
I
that,
think the
right?
one I fell
So,
asleep on.
and they're a strategic solution partner to us. So we had to show up,
Yeah, you
and
wanted to
it
be there
was
to
like
support, yeah.
we also were like dishing out at the start of the week, different team members going to different events, right? So that was I had to go to that one, and I wanted to go, but I remember going back to the hotel room, having a shower, and then realizing I've got to like do invites for the creator bash and make sure they're sent out, and then I've got to do registrations from this and just like tech stuff, like export this spreadsheet into this and do this. And I was sitting at my laptop, and I kept on glancing over at the beautiful queen size bed in my room, and it was warm, and I was just like,
You
I
know
could
what?
I could just grab a slice of pizza downstairs and just go to bed, and no one would know, right? but I ended up going out. That was a great function, and I also met some really great people. So if there's anyone watching this who's like perhaps marketplace partner or a solution partner, and you're thinking about um, being a sponsor of this, as long as you're organized and you've got yourself kind of like got all your details lined up, I'd really strongly encourage to go ahead and do it. But reach out to a bunch of people who've done it before and get some advice, right?
Yeah, that's a really good point. So I'm not a partner or anything, right? But I luckily, fortunately, I don't even know how this happened, but Mr. Beast, huge inspiration for me and what I do here on YouTube, right? He's like the #1 YouTuber. But Dan Mace, I don't know if you've heard of him. He's based out of South Africa. and he is the creative director for Beast Philanthropy. So all the the philanthropy arm of Mr. Beast, that they build toilets and running
Yeah.
water for kids in Africa and everywhere else, right? And so he's in cinematography, and I was going to be doing a lot of content. So he posted a 2.5-hour video on how do I make a Mr. Beast video, right? And in that he had my equipment, the gear, and so he had everything labeled. So I don't have anything near me, but I got gaffer's tape and I labeled all my equipment, because I'm like, the last thing I want to do is lose something, right? So the batteries were labeled, the chargers were labeled, everything that I took got labeled with the gaffer's tape. And then he recommends, he's like, I don't get to the site without having my hit list. Like, he's like, I have a list of what we're gonna do every single day. So it's so far to reach. But I literally I had Sunday, Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday, and Friday. I'm like, here's every shot I want to take, here's every interview, here's every person I want to speak with.
Wow.
And I just had a list. And I just wrote it down, and every morning I would be reviewing it, so I kind of knew what I needed to do. And then at night I cross out what I got done, what I didn't get done. But it's the only way I was able to stay organized, because there's so much happening, so much, and it's not enough hours in that day. Not enough hours.
Yeah, and I got some sage advice from Vish, because there was so many things that I put on my, like, we're going to do this, and we're going to do this, and we're going to do this. And he's just like, yeah,
Pick one or two.
You don't realize how busy the week is. Maybe pull a few things off and do a couple of other things very well, perhaps. And that's been a theme. That's one thing I'll say about the leadership in our company is, like, the expectations are do it once, do it well. And if that's at the cost of doing other things, so be it. Right. And that, for me, being I'm an ENFP personality, I'm like, I often say to people, like, my life is like a Vegas buffet, right? I'll throw everything on the plate and then I'll gorge in life, and there'll always be things left over. And that's great. It's a great way to kind of live the life in your experiences. But in terms of getting things done within, a commercial entity in the enterprise world, it's been great advice from, shout outs to you, Vish. It's been great advice for me, because it means that I can also walk away from things that they're finished and not have to, like, go back and do them. So I love how you're doing that with your production. Super organized.
Yeah,
and then you can either do more of it, or you can do it without the stress of worry of, I'm going to forget an SD card.
Right? Well, I haven't even told you the best part. I forgot the book at home.
Well, I mean, if it was in Jira,
I know.
Trello,
don't even.
Right.
So
we'll get Brittany on here. She can do a Trello board for you.
Yeah. No, the summer of Atlassian is in full swing, full swing, and it's a lot of moving parts here. Like, I don't know if you weren't around for last year to see, or you wouldn't have been interested in seeing what happened last year. So the backstory is 2021 Memorial Day here in the United States, which is the last Monday of May, through Labor Day, which is like the first Monday of September. It's roughly 100 days. Roughly, it's like 98, 99 days, right? And in 2021, I quit my job. I quit everything, and I had no idea what I was going to do. And so I decided to help people with their Jira problems, right? Just as a consultant. And I did that for, like, I don't know, maybe a month and a half, almost 2 months. And I'm sitting with my wife, and I told her, like, if I can't make $10,000 in the next 100 days, I'm just gonna go get a regular job, right? And I'm just gonna forget this whole entrepreneurial stuff, and I'm gonna get a job again, right? And I kid you not, that was Monday, Memorial Day, and like by Thursday, I had locked in like close to $13,000.
Wow!
In like a week. So I was like, awesome. Now I just gotta deliver, right? So then fast forward a little bit, then the YouTube channel came to fruition. And I launched that in December 2021. And fast forward to Memorial Day, the next year, I was like, I'm riding this high of, like, look what I accomplished in the last 100 days of last summer. So I was like, what do I do this year? and my channel had not monetized. My channel I was probably hovering around 500 subscribers and like 1,000 watch hours. And as you know, you need 1,000 subscribers and 4,000 watch hours. And in 2020, I had done all this research on like, how do you grow a YouTube channel, right? And they were like, live stream is the best way because you rack up so many watch hours so quickly. So I basically launched the summer of Jira, right? And every day for 7 straight days, it was just like video, live stream, video, live stream, right? And it was just this churn of like literally 100 videos over a 100-day period. But by the time I got to Labor Day, I hit the 1,000, I hit the 4,000 hours, and I crushed the goals. I monetized the channel in 100 days.
What was your follower count lift in that period? I'm really curious.
It went from 500 to almost 2,000 in that time frame. But the watch hours is really what the watch hours were off by like 2 weeks, but the watch hours went from 1,000 to 4,000 in that. But I grew a momentum. That's when I met Rodney. Rodney started hanging out and like coming to the live streams. And it was just like this super, super hard work of monetizing the channel. Right? And so that was 2022. So then for 2023, I was like, you know what? I just can't do Jira videos. I have to broaden the horizon a little bit. So I dubbed it the Summer of Atlassian. And so 2 summers ago, I did my Summer of Atlassian where the goal was to get to 10,000 subscribers. And so I missed it, but I still went from like four, almost 5,000 to about 8,000 subs in that time frame. It was still pretty good, but it's this 100-day period where I just push videos out. And so here we are, second week of June. we're 2 weeks into it. But all of my ideas and notes and organization there, I have a wall that's like, I don't know, 20 feet wide, and it's nothing but whiteboard. So everything, I look past my monitors and I can see everything that I have to do for this thing. And my wife's like, why isn't all this in your, because I record the videos, but then she does all the work, right? And so she's having to come in here constantly just to read my chicken scratch to figure out what's next.
Oh, that's great.
That's how it all comes together. But yeah, the Summer of Atlassian is 100 days that I push myself beyond anything to just push. Pure volume. Volume negates luck is the motto that I have today.
You know, what you just described to me, I was thinking about the other day in a completely different context, right? And that was running and fitness, right? I had a reasonably extraordinary kind of fall into this pastime, which ended up being an obsession. And, you know, I went for a run on the 27th of December, 2016, right? I was on holiday. I'd just gone through my first midlife crisis. I was unhappy with a bunch of things in life, right? And I'd found going to the gym was a thing that was helping me. I had a personal trainer. I was just kind of getting myself back in order and was dealing with some kind of, I don't know, some darkness in my life, right? Coming out of it. And I found myself on holiday camping with my kids, and there was no personal trainer, there was no gym, there was nothing to like keep me within the cadence of being healthy. So I hated running. It was the thing that I hated cardio. I hated anything like that. So I was like, I'll just go for a little jog. And I went for like a 1K jog up this hill. And then I was on holiday for 9 days. And so then I went for like every day, a little bit longer. And then I sort of hit this milestone of I got to this specific point on top of this big hill. It was in this really beautiful regional kind of park. And I felt really, really good about myself, like massively good about myself. And then I got home from holiday and I went, you know, it was January by now. I was like, maybe I can run for the rest of January every day. And so I did, right? I just went for these little jogs around my local area. And I got fit. Like I lost 13 kilos in 2.5 months, right? Of excess, body. And the way I look at it is like, you know, those big milk cartons, bottles that you could buy, right? There was like a bunch of those that I wasn't carrying around anymore. And I wasn't a big dude anyway. And then I told a colleague at work, and he said, "Oh, this is great." He was a marathon runner. He said, "You should go and do a half marathon." I was like, "Oh no, I'm not ready for that sort of stuff," right? And he said, "Look, of course you are." And that afternoon, he emailed me a spreadsheet, right? And he said, "Here's your training program, and I've just booked you in on this half marathon, which is in like 8 weeks to get training, dude." Right? And I'd maybe run 8K, so that was like the duration, that was how far
Yeah.
I'd run. And long story short, I went and did that half marathon. I did it really well. I really enjoyed it. It was a fun time. I beat myself up a little bit on, it was difficult. It was extremely difficult. Within the next 4 months, I decided to skip the whole marathon thing, and I was doing in September that year. I ended up doing an ultra marathon, right, which was 50 k's around the mountains, and really loved that. And then the following year, I was competing in ultra marathons, so in kind of the top 10 speed for them, and none of it was technique, none of it was equipment. All of it was what you said, right? Volume, just consistently going and doing the thing, even though sometimes it's crap. And you look back at that recording and go, "Oh man, that was terrible."
Yeah.
But I'm going to move on. We'll do the edit. We'll move on. We'll learn from it. Do it right. That was the same thing that I had from running, and what I learned back in 2017, 2018 was like, you can apply these same principles in anything in your life and anything that you want to do. Generally, is if you can get yourself into the mental thing of, I'm going to do a little bit of it every single day for a period, you get that moment where, geez, that felt really good in terms of a sense of achievement. And then you reflect back upon it and go, I've actually learned a heck of a lot. And that learning has led me towards, achieving something. And that's exactly what you did in the channel. I love it. It's amazing.
Yeah. No, it's the power of discipline and just the power of repetition, right? Like there's a compounding interest that you gain from doing it, because I like to write things down. I write down a lot of stuff, and I have a notebook, yet again too far to reach, but I can see it. I have a notebook where I literally have start a YouTube channel, and it's dated March of 2014. And to sit on an idea for so long, to just be
Wow.
scared to not, because it's scary. Like Rodney, for the longest time, I couldn't get him on a camera. Like Rodney's like, I'm a blogger. I write, I text, I don't do video. And he's like, I don't edit, I don't do any of that. So that's when we were figuring out the Jura life, we're like, let's just do it live, because then the live doesn't require you to do any prep, right? Like you just show up, we talk. I mean, we prep what, milliseconds for this session, right? And we're like, it'll just be us chatting, and it doesn't require any overhead, and we just stop the recording and we're done, and then we can go on with our lives. And that's the only way I got him to like say, hey, let's do this for real, in a consistent manner, as opposed to shooting everything and recording it and putting all the other stuff. It's just extra steps that lets you psych yourself out and not do it. So you gotta like
Totally.
almost MVP the crap out of it.
And I personally think, as a consumer of, as someone who watches, when I can get the time to watch you guys live, that's what I think makes it so good and worthwhile watching, is that you just feel like you're in the room with 3-4 guys talking about work. And when we have, I don't know what the percentage of the Atlassian community is who work from home or work remote, but I would guess it's a large number. We feel like we're part of kind of this water cooler conversation that we're having, that you guys are having, right? And that's what I think, why I think it's such a great show.
But it goes so much beyond that. You had me in tears recently. I don't know if I told you. I definitely haven't had a chance to tell you. A lot of people ask me like, hey, why do you have the Jira Life and why do you have APEC? Like, what's the difference? Right? Jira is Jira, right? And I'm like, no, it's not, because with this channel, the one where we're putting this, right, it's volume, right? It's 115,000 monthly views, huge numbers, right? It's something that I've been investing in for the last 3 years, 2.5 years now, and it's kind of like autonomous at this point, right? I don't worry about this channel. It just does. It lives, right? Awesome, cool. But on the Jira Life, it's still the baby. I'm still nurturing. We're still watching every metric every single day. But what makes the Jira Life so truly unique, in my opinion, that I just absolutely love and psychs me up to like show up every day, is that the picture of you at Red Robin. And I say that because like, where else would a picture that anybody else would look at it and go, it's a picture of Red Robin, what's the value, right? But the story and the meaning and the impact that you had on Ray's life, right? Just that moment that you gave to Ray is something that isn't possible anywhere else in the Atlassian ecosystem. And like those moments, this is why like I could care less if a taco is a sandwich or not. But the movement that we're creating around the rallying of an opinion and a belief of whether something is or isn't something is just it's unprecedented that I've seen before.
Oh, 100%. And I think the Jira Life is, to the point that I raised really early, the Jira Life really epitomizes what I love about the Atlassian community. I just think you guys have encapsulated it into a show, right? Because everyone's real. As I said the other day, there's genuine expertise in the room. There's very few ego moments, if any. And so with all of that, you get this like incredibly, intriguing and interesting place, because the intellect brings forth wisdom, right? There's all this collective wisdom that's brought forth without egos. There's no bullshit. So it's believable. So you can really feel like you're being part of it. But I think also because everyone's just so real. So Ray is one of the most real people I've ever met, right? And you guys are too, and on the show. So when you're that authentic and that real, I think that's where the magic is, because then the person on the screen who's watching from wherever they're watching can truly connect. Mm-hmm. And that's the magic that you guys are achieving, right? And Atlassian couldn't do that. No brand can do that, right? It requires a community to come out of itself and do it for their own purposes. And then Atlassian can support it, right? And the other brands can support it. And that's how I see this. And so our way of supporting it is just to get involved and be real and not drop in like, calls to action and
right. Yeah. Right? No, I mean,
yeah. I'm glad you said about that. That reminds me of backups, right? Let's talk about, right? Yeah. It's great. And I'm so glad that the Red Robin moment had an impact, because Ray's conversation had an impact on me. So this was kind of me looping back on the conversation. It's like, thank you for sharing that vulnerable space of like, within the live. And, and you guys are facilitating it all. It's amazing.
And to think that none of us have even met each other at that point either, right?
I know. That's the magic.
They're like, oh, this whole work from home thing, you have no culture, you have no camaraderie. And I'm like, I think if you want camaraderie and teamwork, you have to have a good culture, and you have to want it. It's possible, though, and we can prove it here with the Jira Life, where we feel closer than anybody else. Like just the little group that you took to the sphere, like the closeness of us, right? This was the first time. This is the second time I've seen Fun Man Andy. First time I saw you. First time I saw Ray. Right? First time. So it was a lot of firsts for everything, and yet we were like just hanging out like we've been best buds since high school.
I totally get it. And I mentioned earlier that I used to do quite a bit of marketing coaching, and one of the repetitive things that I would say to my clients would be, when we talk about content, particularly in services, in a services industry where it's more about trust and less about capability, when it comes down to someone making a decision to work with you or at least reach out to you. So the marketing generates the person to reach out to you. And I've just, a lot of people like Rodney take a long time and quite a lot of repetition in order to get to the point where they can kind of get over whatever they need to get over to be real on camera, or to be real in their writing, or to be real in their marketing, however they want to do it. But what I say to people is the magic of getting over what you need to get over, and to do that part of the thing, which is being real in your real and authentic, like your real person, not what your brand wants you to be, but the real person. that will bring you this magical outcome, which will be when you do meet people in person, and whether it's digitally in person on a Zoom meeting or whatever, but when they do reach out to you and you finally have the meeting with these prospective clients or partners or whoever it is, you'll hear people saying, these magic words, which are, I feel like I already know you, right? And I've been through clients for, like I was coaching for, 4 years. And I've been through this process with clients where they were like really, really stiff on camera. But then they sort of, I used to say to them, just do your press-ups, right? Get out there, record another thing, do your press-ups, get out there and, right? It will feel less crappy after a while. But expect nothing out of the first month of press-ups, right? You're not going to get stronger. And
I tell people you can't get buff reading a book on how to do push-ups.
there you go. And so, but sure enough, I've one of the wonderful things of being a coach in marketing has been for me when the client will phone me, be like, Stu. I'm like, what? They said it. I said, what are they saying? They're like, I felt like I already knew you. And I was like, great, you've nailed it, right? And now it's just repetition. And this is what you guys have nailed, right? And I think I think it's a power move, right?
Yeah.
I think you guys are only just starting. I think there's a lot more. If we look at Atlassian paying attention to the creator community and the great thing that Lauren's been doing, and the growth, I think it's really fascinating what 2025 is going to look like around Atlassian team and the creator community all converging. I think it's going to be wild.
And don't forget, I'm hosting it. It's going to be in my hometown. I get to walk down the street and be there. So I know we're running out of time here. So I just want to tap on two stories here real quick. So one is, walk me through, and on the same note that we were just talking about, this community-driven experience of that is the Jira life, right? Another, that Ray moment, it's amazing how like my top 3 moments all have to do with you. But that Ray moment, right? That post from Ray, I think for sure is my absolute favorite moment in memory of why Ronnie and I it's important. But the second one was the death of Jira Server, right? And your iconic moment in history as well. Like, where did that come from? Like, how? Why?
So for those who didn't witness it,
so your stuff is within reach. Mine's too far that I got to really leave the frame.
So I held a memorial service live on the Jira Life on the Death of Jira show, and I hammered that in a stake. And I actually rehearsed it all, right? Because I was like, this is live. You've got to get off StreamYard here in your little office. You've got to switch it to your phone. So the phone was pre-set up with a with a selfie stick, and it was already plugged into StreamYard. And then Vish came on, who was talking, and then I had to walk around and wait for my cue, and then pick up the hammer. And where did it come from? I went for a run the day before, and I was like, what the hell am I going to say to all of these strangers on the Jira Life? Well, how am I going to keep people interested in me? We're talking about, technology, and it doesn't feel like it was that long ago, but to me, it felt like I was still very new to this community. So, there was a bit of nervous energy in me going, don't screw it up. And I think also, and it's a microcosm of this, right? So don't let me make this into something that's bigger than it really is. But I feel like when you get an opportunity and you're blessed to be allowed on someone else's platform and their network, and they're trusting you to talk to their audience, show up, right? Show up, be prepared, give them back something that they didn't anticipate, because in my mind, because Alex and Rodney and Bob did all this work in building this platform. You've been invited onto this platform. Don't go up there and pitch your product, right? There's time for that. There's time and
We
place for
we
that. So
we
that's
have
where that
more.
came from. It was just an idea, and I just thought, like, what's the theme? Death. Okay, fine.
It was just, yeah, it was one of these
We'll
moments
bury
that
the server.
go down. Yeah, it's gonna go down in the Jura Life history books of like one of my most iconic top 3. But yeah, again, it makes it all worth doing it, right? Like, I don't know if you got a chance to tune in today, right? But everybody automatically saw, like, I had just woken up from a quick power nap. I've been working, like, again, this summer of Jura is just I put so much of a load on me that sleep is for the week for 100 days. And I just snuck in like 5 minutes to just like rest my eyes. And when I got on the Jura Life, it was like Ronnie was like, I'm doing all the talking, dude. Where you at? This is not how we operate. And I'm like, man,
I hear you.
today was not the day for the Jura Life and me. And so you got to remember those moments so that you can go back and put the rep in, because there's gonna be days where you just don't want to do it. To this day, I don't know if you attended our creator panel, but I was on a panel, right? And we're at Team 24, and we're talking about like, hey, what tips would you have for people? And I'm like, guys, I come up with every excuse I can possibly make to not turn on that camera, even though I have 700-800 videos under my belt at this point. But every time, I even have the lens on the dumb camera so that I don't record, because I hate recording a video. But you have to, and there's got to be a reason why you do it. And so it's moments like these that make it worth it.
Oh, totally. Like, remember your why, right?
Yeah, remember your why, and remember that Stu's knocking, and if you don't hit publish in that video, he's gonna get mad. You ever hear of the panic monster?
No, tell me about it.
There's a great TED talk. I have to link it to you. There's a great TED talk on procrastination, and it's psychologically, we have a monster. There's a monkey that's steering our brain. It steers our ship, and when we know we have time, right? We give ourselves, we allocate all the time to do whatever task we need to do, because we know we have a month or 2 or 3 months or a semester to finish something, right? But it's not until that last 30-minute period or last 2 days of the deadline that this panic monster comes in and is like, puts that monkey into high gear and it gets it going, and it just does it. So I take, as bad as it sounds, right? Like, I need that deadline you put on me to then go, I gotta get this video out, because if it's up to me, I'll sit here and stare at that camera and not hit that record button.
Do you know? So thank you for sharing that with me. Can I throw something back at you in relation to you and that scenario, right? Because we're over Slack, right, and we're agreeing timelines to deliver that video that we're talking about. And I went on to Slack and I said to Vish, Alex is committed to this and committed to that, and I said, I've given him a bit of a nudge, right? And Vish is the next message from Vish, which is like, he's a very thoughtful guy and very organized. He's just like, don't put too much pressure on the guy. He's really, he's really valuable to us, and he's a good dude, and he's, and I know he's traveling at the moment. And I was like, don't worry. Like, no one's going to get fired for any of this sort of like non-delivery, but he needed a nudge. Right.
No, I definitely.
I think that's great working relationships, is when people can, even over Slack, people can pick up on like people's energy levels, and and maybe you can feel cadence picking up or cadence dropping off. And I was, in that scenario, what I was thinking was like, I can see what's going to be happening in the next 3 weeks, and if we don't nail this week, the hard part, which is getting the first bit done, won't happen, or it'll happen to a level where no one's happy with the time or energy that was put into it. And so I was just like, no, I just want to, I'll nudge us to the front of the queue. And then if the edit takes 3 weeks, so be it. Right? Because edit's kind of like finessing. But the important part of the product, or the important part, is like the energy that people put into the video.
If you saw me driving down from Phoenix, my mom was like, we didn't have to leave on Saturday. I was like, I had to get a video out. We had to leave on Saturday.
Oh, thank you. I appreciate it.
She's like, you're such a liar. I'm like, look, I have Slack messages. It says they want it on Sunday. So
no, I feel bad.
Oh no, don't feel bad at all. I needed to get out of 107-degree heat that Phoenix was in, so I'm glad to be back at home and not be dealing with that. But anyway,
Now, I've got,
Stu, thank you
you
so much.
said there was 3 things.
No.
There was
We
the
ran out
red
of
hot
time.
one. We ran out of time. Okay.
We
Then next
ran out
time.
of time.
Next
I have
time.
to respect your time. We'll tease it for another video. In my bad naming of stuff, I do have a follow-up series called The Fall of Atlassian, which happens in the autumn.
That's got Game of Thrones vibes to it, and none of them are good.
I didn't like the autumn of Atlassian, like it didn't. So, but I like the sound of the fall of Atlassian.
All right.
So yeah, the fall of Atlassian will come up. So we'll reconvene in a few months.
Nice.
Dude,
Right,
thank you so much for your time. I appreciate you taking a minute here out of your busy life, and again, memories that we'll cherish for eternity.
Oh, dude, and yeah, thank you for bringing it, and for all of the stuff that you go through. Like, we are at Revyz, and me in person, we're just genuinely appreciative of the energy that you and all of your team put to this community, because a lot of it's like just for free, right? It's just like doing it for your Y factor, and I just want to say that we see that and we respect it and appreciate it.
Appreciate it. All right. Well, hopefully I can see you soon. But thank you for watching.